everyone, Sandy here. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm sharing my 6x8 recipe book that I designed using Country Craft Creations' beautiful Kitchen Memories 8x8 paper collection. This will be the walkthrough and the tutorial for this book. I hope you enjoy it, and please remember to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already and give me a thumbs up. So stay tuned, let's take a look. I decided to make this recipe book, this 6x8 recipe book, a horizontal or landscape style album. And I keep it closed with a long piece of seam binding ribbon that I've wrapped around several times. So when you open it up here on the inside, you'll see it has a pocket where you can tuck in extra recipe cards. And then the first page set has a tuck spot here for one or more recipe cards. And then that flips down, and here in this side cover I did piecing, and then here I have a waterfall for the recipe cards, and the first recipe card on the front has a plastic recipe card holder so you can slide that card in and out, and the rest of the waterfall flaps have the slotted corners so that you can put in smaller recipe cards. And then when you flip it back, on the back side of this page set, you have a double pocket so you can put recipe cards in your pocket. Now there's only 3-page sets in this album, and all 3 are made the same. So here's the second one. It has a tuck spot too, and I used the cut aparts to make the tuck spots. Also has the waterfall. And on the back side it has the double pockets. Love this beautiful collection by Country Craft Creations. It's called Kitchen Memories, and this one is the 8x8 collection. And I will be making another recipe album out of the 12x12. So here's the waterfall flips on the 3rd page with your tuck spot on the front, and then your double pocket here. And then on the inside back cover, I also made the same pocket that we have on the front cover. So you can put lots of extra recipe cards in here, and you have a tuck spot there on the flap. So that's the album, the 6x8 Kitchen Memories recipe book. And here I'm going to show you how to wrap this seam binding around. It's a double string tied on both ends, and I just wrap it around and then take the last wrap and the one that I started with and just tie a bow. I just like the way it looks to keep it closed when I'm not using it. And so then I'm going to turn it a little bit on its side. There we go, is the landscape look of the album. So let's start with the tutorial now. To start off making this album, we need to gather our supplies, which I've listed here on the screen, so you can pause it and take a look. Of course, I used heavyweight chipboard, the black Artisan Cardstock, Scor-tape sheet, basic gray magnets. I needed 5 sets, the art glitter glue, and then the collection, which is the Kitchen Memories 8x8 collection, and recipe cards. Optional is the plastic recipe card holders. I had those in my stash. I used 3. That's optional. And the seam binding ribbon, I used 3 yards to make the closure piece, which is also optional. So those are the supplies that you would want to use to get started on this project, this 6x8 recipe book. I will type up the cutting list and put that in the description of the video down below so you can copy and paste. You're going to start off with your chipboard here. I have 2 pieces that are 6x8 for the cover and one that's 2x8 for the spine. And then you're going to need your cardstock cut to wrap. So you need 2 8x10s, 1 5x10 for the spine, and 1 6x8 for the support piece, and a Scor-tape sheet that is also 6x8, just one of those. So I have those laid out, already cut. So that's this. I already put the Scor-tape sheet on this one. So now I'm going to show you how to wrap your cover pieces. So let's start off with one of the main cover pieces. And again, this is an 8x10, and you're going to use, if you use the spacer guides that you can order from Country Craft Creations, You use the 1" by 1". And I'm going to use glue. Now you can use Scor-tape if sheet or Scor-tape strips if you prefer. For speed, I go ahead and use the glue. So I'm using the Art Glitter glue that I have put in this glue dispenser, and you just put it on the entire side and then line it all up here with the guides. So that leaves you 1" all the way around. Flip it over and burnish it. And then I'm going to set it aside and let it dry while I do the other two pieces. Give it a really good burnish. Flip that over. Let that dry and do the second piece exactly the same. Let me grab the other one. There we go. Again, this is your second 8 by 10 piece of cardstock, and I'm just lining it up with my grid. You can use your scoreboard to help you keep it lined up if you like. Add your glue. I've speeded this up because it's repetitive, and I can tell you what I'm doing. Now the next step is the spine piece. You will use the spacer guide that is 1.5 on the side, 1" at the top. I'm adding the glue to the back of the spine, which is my 2 by 8 piece, putting it down on the 5 by 10 cardstock and giving it a really good burnish. Then I take my pieces and I fold the sides and burnish it down. Give them a good crease there. Do this on both of the cover pieces. I just like to stand it up and kind of fold it over and then burnish it down with the bone folder. Then I'm going to take my scissors. Now you can cut out the corners. I like to miter, and I leave about a 1/16 of an inch from the tip of the chipboard at an angle. And then I'm going to use glue. You can use Scor-tape if you like. I put a line of glue right up against the chipboard and then glue on that flap. Fold it over, burnish really well. Do the two long sides first. Then I take it and I check the little bit that's extending from the ends of these pieces I just glued down. I also like to burnish the edge, and I'm checking the leftover hangover piece, and I burnish that in to make sure it closes up good, double checking it. If it needs a little bit more trim, I'll go ahead and trim it, and then I'm going to go ahead and glue the short sides down the same way. So you put your glue in the groove of the cardstock up against the chipboard and then on the flap and burnish it down really well. So you want to make sure you always burnish really well to get these wrapped all 4 sides. Just like that, and then you'll go ahead and do the second one the same way. Now we're ready to wrap the spine piece. So I am just folding down the 2 ends, the short ends, and I like to really burnish up against the chipboard, and then I'm going to glue the entire piece down. I do mine just a little bit different. This works out best for me. If I cut it out, I see chipboard or something. So I glue it down, and then I really burnish really hard up against the chipboard to kind of really flatten that out and make it like one piece. It doesn't have a lot of thickness there, and I like that. So I do both ends exactly the same. So I do put glue along the chipboard on the sides there where that 1" folds over. And here I'm burnishing the other end. Okay, so now we have it like that. Then I fold and burnish the sides. Now these are not glued down. This is what's going to attach into your book. This is the lay flat method designed by Tamara of Country Craft Creations. So you want to really burnish this. This is where it's going to be folding. Your book's going to be folding back and forth. And so I kind of do it back and forth both directions several times and get it really clean. And this is where my book is going to attach. So I'm just looking at it to see if there's anything that sticks over. And then I place my scissors right up against the fold of the chipboard and miter off very tiny sliver. I don't want to cut a whole bunch away. So I've done that. Now I'm folding this back, and on the wrong side of the cover is going to attach to this right side of the spine piece or the wing. So you line them up. I kind of use my board to tap them together, give it a good burnish, open it up and burnish it. And then I'll do this other side the same way. You fold it down to the wrong side, and then you're going to glue the wrong side of the cover to that flap of your spine. So I'm getting a good amount of glue on there, and then I'm going to line these up. Sorry, I'm a little bit off camera there, but I am lining it up, and I just make sure they're nice and even, and then burnish inside and out. And then I'm going to let that kind of dry there. I'm not going to be moving it a lot. I'm going to go ahead and put my support piece down. I use Scor-tape sheet on this piece. This is your piece that was cut at 6 by 8. I use the Scor-tape sheet to make sure there's no bubbling, because if you use glue, it almost always bubbles a little bit. You have a little pocket that will bubble. I'm just making sure my Scor-tape is all folded to the sticky side. I don't want any showing, and then I'm lining this up. I cut it almost exactly the height of my cover. I like to finish it all the way. I don't like to have a line there. And then I'm folding this up, and with the rounded part of my bone folder, I burnish into that groove. And there I have the cover. Just burnish a little more. You want to make sure it folds in good. Now I am going to go ahead and cover the inside here. I like to have it finished. So I cut 2 pieces. I didn't give you that measurement. That just fits that section of the book. I don't have the measurements in my notes to give you, but it's the same height. It's 8 inches tall and whatever you need to cover the inside of that book. So probably I use 6 inches, I think, and I'm just going to glue it right there on each side on the left and the right. So that makes it nice and clean because I'm going to be, and smooth, I'm going to be adding pockets there on those inside cover pieces. To create the base pages, we're going to make L-hinge pages, and you're going to need 3. From your cardstock, cut 3 that are 6 1/4 by 7 7/8. And I'm going to score the 6 1/4 inch side at a 1/2 inch and 3/4 of an inch. Do this on all 3 pages. And then go ahead and fold up the score lines, and I like to fold them back and forth because this is going to be the hinge of what turns the pages. So go ahead and do all 3 the same. There's cut 6 1/4 by 7 7/8. This will be down in the cutting guide in the description below that you can copy and paste, and score the 6 1/4 side at a 1/2 inch and 3/4 of an inch. To attach the pages into the album cover, you're going to put glue just on that 1/2 inch space or flap, not on the little 1/4 inch. Make sure you don't get any glue on it. So it's just going to be the 1/2 inch that attaches into the spine of your album cover. So I flatten it down so I just see the 1/2 inch, and I'm going to glue this using the 1/2 inch to make my space from the fold of the cover into the hinge or the spine section here. So I'm putting glue on just one side of the 1/2 inch only, and I'm turning it so that I can attach it down flat. I'm putting the cut edge of the flap of the page up against where the fold is. So that's going to give us a 1/2 inch space there. And I'm making sure that I line it up straight. The page is going to be about a 1/16 of an inch down from the top edge and from the bottom edge. So attach it down and then burnish it really well. So it's just the 1/2 inch flap that's attached, and fold it back. So you see your 1/4 inch there. That helps for the pages to lay flat. So you're going to take your second page. You're going to do the same thing. You're going to glue just that 1/2 inch, and you're going to butt it up against the other page. So put your glue on. On the 1/2 inch, and then lay it into the spine area. The edge of the 1/2 inch flap goes up against the page that you just put down. Make sure everything lines up straight, top and bottom, and then burnish that 1/2 inch down into your spine. And just making sure if there's any adjustments I need to make, and now I'm going to burnish it. And flatten that 1/4 inch down, and the last one will go in the same way. And then that's going to leave us a 1/2 inch space remaining. So we put the glue on the 1/2 inch flap, line up the cut edge to the last page that we put in so that it leaves that 1/2 inch attached down into the spine. Line up your page, make sure it's straight. I'm checking it with the other page. And this is before I really burnish down that glue. So I'm just making adjustments. I want to keep it nice and straight. And then go ahead and burnish that down into the spine. And flatten out that 1/4 inch, and we have our page in the book, all 3 pages. Just double checking if I need to move it a little bit. I think there we go. Lift up before my glue dried and reposition it. Didn't quite like the spacing that I had left. So by using glue instead of score tape, it does give you just a few seconds to make any adjustments that you might need to get your pages in nice and straight. So then burnish it down really good, and then flatten that out, and then we have all 3 pages in. We're going to add page flap closures, so you need to cut 3 from cardstock that measures 6 1/4 by 7. Put the 6 1/4 in at the top and score at a 1/2 inch and 3/4 of an inch. Now these are made exactly the same way as your base pages. They're just cut shorter, and they become flaps that become closures when we add the magnets. So go ahead and score all 3 the same. These are again cut 6 1/4 inches by 7 and score on the 6 1/4 inch side at a 1/2 inch and 3/4 of an inch. So I'm going to move my scoreboard out of the way, and then we're going to fold that 1/2 inch score line and then the little 1/4 inch score line. So this is going to give us a little 1/4 inch gusset that's going to be standing up that will give us room for our waterfall flaps that go on the base pages. So I'm just working it back and forth because these are going to be flaps that are going to fold back and forth. So now we have that nice little 1/4 inch gusset there. So go ahead and do that on all 3. Take your album and open up to your pages. We're going to add these to each page on the front side only, and you need to dry fit and see how they fit. You want to make sure that it glues down so that you have a 1/4 inch standing up. You do not want the flap extending over the base page where it's attached at the hinge. So you may need to trim that off just slightly there on each one. I think I went ahead and off camera had trimmed off uh, on the one side about 1/8 of an inch to fit, to make sure it doesn't extend over. Then flatten it down, add glue to just the 1/2 inch section, and then attach it down centered. So this is offset. It's not going to be the full size of your page. So you center the 7-inch length between the 7 and 7/8 inch page. So you want to make sure it's even top and bottom so that you have a space along each side. So you see it there, it doesn't go all the way to the top and all the way to the bottom. So I've got even spaces there, and make sure that when it's folded, it doesn't go into the opposite page. So I'm going to go ahead and put the other two down the same way. And again, these go on the front side of each page. Next, I'm going to go ahead and pattern the cover of my album, and I've decided I'm going to use this pink print, and then I'm going to mat this image that I cut from the 8x8 paper onto black cardstock. So you can just decide whatever size of print you want or design you want on the front of yours. So I'm gluing this image to the black cardstock, and then I'm going to glue that, center it onto this pink print here that I selected from the collection. And this will be the front of my album. And I'm not going to do a lot of thick decorating with flowers or anything. I just want this image to be the decorative piece. So make sure I've got everything going the right direction. And I glue this on to the cover. And I take a cloth and wipe off any excess glue and burnish that down. So I love how that looks. So next we're going to do the spine, which I already glued down. I used the same print. I didn't double mat that. And then the back, I'm going to use this green color, which matches the green of the image on the front. And again, I am not double matting the spine or the back cover. After we've added the pattern paper to the outside of our album cover, we're going to make waterfall flaps for our recipe cards. And we're going to make 3 for each page. So you want to cut 9 out of cardstock that are 4 3/4 by 6 1/4. Place your 4 3/4 inch side at the top of your scoreboard and score each one at a 1/2 inch. So all 9 of them will be done the same. You're going to score at a 1/2 inch on the 4 3/4 inch side. So you cut 9 that were 4 3/4 by 6 1/4. So go ahead and do that on all of them. Before we add the waterfalls into each section, we need to go ahead and pattern this inside back section underneath where the waterfalls go. So I'm just measuring to make sure of the size, and what I do is I cut it 1/8 of an inch shorter in height and 1/8 of an inch shorter in width. You can make your margin whatever size you want. So I'm going to cut 3 pieces of patterned paper here to fit into my section. So I have selected the blue check, the pink print, and then this one here with the kitchen scales. So I'm going to go ahead and glue these inside. Make sure that it does not go over any of your fold lines. So I'm going to turn it sideways here so I can make sure I'm getting it on straight. Need to trim just a tiny bit more. So to dry fit yours, make sure that nothing is going to hang over. So each one of these I'm going to trim just a tiny bit off the sides, just to be sure that we don't cause any problems. So I'm going to go ahead now and take my glue and attach it down inside to that section. Because we need to build up the waterfall onto the section here in the center. So we want to make sure we have patterned paper. So I'm going to do all 3 real quick. And again, I am using art glitter glue that I have added into my dispenser of my gun tool here. Burnish it in. And I'm restanding up those 1/4 inch gussets. So double check, make sure it does fit without hindering any of the folds of the book, and then go ahead and glue it in. Okay, so now we have those done. Let's take a waterfall, and we're going to center these into this section. So you want to make sure it doesn't extend beyond the closure flaps. So I'm double checking my space, and I'm going to put the first one down. The fold of that hinge goes to the top edge of that patterned paper. And then I'll put the next one down, and it goes right up against the one I just put down. So you can see where the fold matches up with the bottom edge. That leaves that 1/2 inch space in there. And like I said, we do 3 to each section. Now we're going to come back later and put another photo mat, black cardstock photo mat under this last waterfall flap in just later on in the video. But for now we have this, and we're going to put a magnet on. So I'm using the small magnets, and you need 3 sets for this. So I'm going to restand up my 1/4 inch. You want to make sure you do that. Put one magnet on the inside of your flap. Make sure your 1/4 inch is standing up and everything is lining up there on the left, and just put your magnets on. So we're going to do all 3 of those the same. Now that we have all the waterfalls in all 3 sections and the magnets on, we're ready to add the mat underneath. So I've already done it on 2 of them. I'm just showing you real quick, and I'm going to do it on the other last one. You need 3 pieces of cardstock that are cut 4 1/4 by 6 1/4. So I'm going to open this up. So here under your last waterfall flap, you're just going to glue this mat, butt it all the way up to the fold of the waterfall so that it fits down at the bottom. If you need to trim it off a little bit, go ahead and do that. But I've got mine cut, and I'm going to go ahead and glue them in. So I did this on all 3. I'm putting the extra photo mat or recipe mat underneath the last waterfall flap. To create the pocket and flap for the inside front cover and inside back cover, you need to cut 2 pieces that are 3 by 9 and 2 pieces that are 4.5 by 8 out of your cardstock. For the pocket, score the 9-inch side of your 3 by 9 piece at a 1/2 inch on each end and a 1/2 inch across the bottom. And then for your flap, score the 4.5 inch side at a 1/2 inch. I've already done the inside front pocket and flap, but I'm showing you the one on the back cover. So miter the corners of your pocket and then go ahead and fold up all your score lines. And this one I'm scoring the flap at the 1/2 inch. So fold that up and burnish. And now we're ready to put these in. I'm going to go ahead and do the pattern paper. So again, for each section, I make it 1/8 of an inch shorter in the height and width. So here I have my piece for the pocket. And I made my inside cover and back inside cover pockets and flaps, the pattern paper matched. So here I'm putting the stripe on, and I don't have it on. Oh yeah, I forgot the magnet. So I'm tucking the magnet in there really quick. There does need to be a small magnet closure, so you need 2 more sets of small magnets on these inside cover pockets. So I stuck it underneath my pattern paper. And now I'm going to mat the outside only of the top flap. Okay, so once you have those done, get your book, go ahead and put the pocket down at the bottom. Remember, this is a landscape style album. So I want my pocket down here at the bottom. I'm using glue on all 3 sides of the hinges or the attachment flaps. Burnish that in. Then attach your flap at the top. Make sure it does not go into the fold of the album. Right along the fold there, I'm holding it up so I can see, and just attach it there so that it fits down over the pocket. Burnish. And I made a closure piece out of one of the cut aparts. You can do that. I matted it with black cardstock, so I'm gluing just the top part of that onto my flap so I can match up the magnet that I already have underneath my patterned paper of the pocket. So I'm lining this up. Then the magnet goes on and attaches to the flap. And now we're ready to put pattern paper on the rest of the inside. So as you see here, I have it here, and I'm going to put pattern paper that I cut to fit inside. It doesn't have to cover the whole section, just underneath the pocket enough. So I cut that out, and I'm going to glue that on the inside. This is the pattern paper that has the plates on it. Then I need a piece here on the inside of the flap. And then I cut a smaller piece that will fit over where that magnet is to cover that up. Now I cut one and decided it needs to be a little bit wider to cover that, so I'm going to my scraps. So you'll just measure it to fit. That little cut apart works. So I'm going to put this small piece down that I'd originally cut. There's still a little gap where the magnet shows, and then I'm going to glue this down and make that a tuck spot. So that worked out perfect for that. So you can put a smaller recipe card or a note underneath that little flap. So that's the inside covers, pockets. Now we're ready to make the stacked pockets that go on the back side of each base page. So you're going to need to cut from cardstock 6 pieces that are 3.5 by 6.5, and I'm scoring it here. So you score your 6.5 inch side at a 1/2 inch on each end, and then turn and score the 3.5 inch side at a 1/2 inch. So you do it all on the same on all 6 pieces, and then miter your corners. Now the bottom pocket, you are going to fold up all 3 of your score lines to make the attachment piece. The top pocket, you only fold down or fold under the 2 sides. You want to keep the bottom score line straight as a placement guide. So I did cut my patterned paper, and again, I cut it 1/8 of an inch shorter than the length and the width of each piece that I want to cover. So I'm doing the bottom pocket first. I'm going to put patterned paper on it. Just kind of make sure it's centered there and wipe off any glue and burnish. And then I add patterned paper to the top one. Now you don't have to cover that little 1/2 inch section that's going to go tuck down into the bottom pocket. So you just cover the top part that shows. Now again, just measure yours out by how much margin of cardstock you want to see. Like I said, I do it the 1/8 of an inch, which gives me a 1/16 of an inch all the way around most of the time. Okay, if I glue it on straight. Now I've already done 2 of the base pages, so I'm showing you this third one. So I glue my bottom pocket on by putting glue on all 3 of the 1/2 inch flaps on the back and attach it to the bottom and make sure you get it on straight so that you don't have any overlap into any of the folding pieces of your page. So it should fit perfectly in there. And then you're going to glue just the sides, and I am mitering a little more on this to make sure it goes in. So glue on just the sides that are folded under, no glue on that bottom piece, but use it to tuck it into the bottom pocket and then burnish the 2 sides. So there's your 2 double stack pockets. Then you cut a piece of patterned paper to finish off the top. Super quick, super easy to make these. So just go ahead and glue that in. And now we have double stack pockets for our recipe cards. There we go. Now I'm going to show you how I finished up on the inside of my recipe book, adding pattern papers that I don't show you in the step-by-step. Here is the pocket. Of course, we did that together. The inside covers, we have one on the front and one on the back with our pockets. So we've already patterned those in the video. Now, you will see between the spaces, I added the 1/2 inch or the 3/8 inch between each section. So here on this one, I did matte solid on these fronts. And then I did add little cut aparts matted to black cardstock for tuck spots. Now these flaps, the waterfall flaps, they're not done yet. We'll do those later. I'm waiting for the recipe cards. And so I'm just showing you real quick where you can see the little 3/8 inch between each page section. And I did do the piecing here on these inside flaps. So use your scraps. I kind of made mine even. It depends on your scraps. So I did piecing, and that's a good spot to attach a permanent recipe card there, or a photo if you want to, on that little flap on the inside. It kind of looks like a pocket, but actually it's just pieced patterned paper. So that's how I patterned the rest of my album on the inside. And next we're going to add in the recipe cards. Okay, so I have a sheet of the recipe cards that you can order separate from this collection that match it, and I have already put mine in on 2 of the base pages, but I will go over it with you and show you what I did. For fun, I went into my stash and found some plastic sleeves that are 4x6 that are specific for recipe cards. I think they were in my recipe book box here in the kitchen. And so I thought it'd be fun on this first one to put a plastic sleeve for a recipe card that maybe you want to slide in and out or switch out. So first, before I put the plastic down, I cut a piece of patterned paper that will mat that top section over the magnet because you don't want your magnet to show. And then I have my recipe card in that sleeve. It's only open on one end, and I put a dot of glue on each corner of the plastic. This will dry clear, and I'll just let that dry like that. And then I cut my recipe mats. These are 4x6, I believe, to go on my other pages. Again, 1/8 of an inch smaller in width and height. And I use the punch from Dress My Craft that you can get at Country Craft Creations to do the slots. So these are for smaller recipe cards, like index cards or something that you can, cut and print yourself and stick inside that. So I'm putting these white mats, and they are the 65-pound Artisan Cardstock from Country Craft Creations. And then on the final mat that was underneath the waterfalls, I put a cut a mat of patterned paper to finish that off. So that's how I did those sections with my recipe cards. Any extra scraps of paper you might have, you can cut and make recipe card photo mats if you want to. I punched the corners in the patterned paper here and then put a solid piece of cardstock in that to just make tuck spots, extra cards that can go in pockets and stuff like that. So whatever you have left, use it up. And then I take the seam binding ribbon that I crinkled up. It's about a yard of it, I believe, or maybe longer. Wrap it around a couple of times and tie it there on the front. And that is the album. So check out countrycraftcreations.com for your scrapbooking supplies. Be sure to subscribe to my channel. Give me a thumbs up. And I'll see you on the next project. Bye, everybody.